Hey, so I want to do, I'm just in bed, going, about to go to sleep really soon, right? I need to share something with you, that I think is really powerful, and I hope it will help those of you gorgeous women who have got these beautiful gifts like EFT, Reiki, spiritual healing, all the beautiful gifts of accessing spirituality in order to heal people's energy. It's incredible. Now, it's really important that when you are looking to set up in business, however much you know about energy and however much you know about helping people, it's seeing the shit and seeing the stories in yourself that's going to stop you actually being successful. And what prompted me to sort of really talk about it even more today was because yesterday I had a car accident, and came out of nowhere, one of those just horrible accidents. But it wasn't so much the accident that was the problem, it was what I then told myself after the accident that was interesting. And because my speciality of how I help people is tapping into their stories, their beliefs, and turning around the perceptions in our field of energy, in the, not tapping into the trauma, but tapping into the story that we made real behind the trauma. Okay, so what was really interesting, what was coming up was I was kind of picking it apart. What happened? How did that happen? How did I let it happen? Why would I do that? All these things. I was really questioning myself, and I could have very easily gone into blame and shame and guilt, which are really unhelpful emotions. They're not emotions that in any way are there to serve us. They're there to keep us down at heel. And then it wasn't so much that. Then it was, oh my gosh, I'm going to be stopped here. All these stories about being incapable, about being, because I'm heavily pregnant as well. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not fit for this. I can't do this. I'm going to have to slow down. Oh my gosh, and all the sort of all the compounding stories, and it became really obvious that this story started off with, oh my gosh, how could I have let that accident happen? That's insane. Look at what could have happened. It could have been so much worse. Oh my goodness. To then going somewhere else and somewhere else and somewhere else, and that's how our minds work. Some people are more overthinkery than others, but ultimately, what happens is once we get a train of thought that is really unhelpful and quite toxic, we just literally attracting more of that in. So I ended up with all these thoughts of I'm weak, I'm incapable, and for me a big activation point is if I feel weak, then I'm not happy and I get quite frustrated if I feel I'm less than. And that's something that I possibly will be working on for quite some time. But if I feel incapable and weak, which is not my natural MO, it's not my modus operandi, it's not how I am. So if I feel weak, I feel very out on a limb. So it was like my body was just like baiting me to go into this trauma, and it takes some amount of going, no, right, we're going to face not the trauma. Let's not get busy with what happened, but what are you making it mean? And the reason it's important to people who are setting up business is because it just so happened that yesterday was also the first night of my newly launched program. Who knows why the universe throws things into interesting ways, but universe works in amazing ways. Our brain and body and subconscious will work in incredible ways to when we hit our upper limits. Okay, so what happens when we're in business is that these stories creep in, and because they're stories that we kind of believe, like, well, I'm not really qualified enough, I'm not really good enough, I don't really know enough, I'm not well trained enough, I'm not actually healed enough. All of these things come into play and stop you sharing what you're born to do. And there's several things that have to come into play in order for you to actually become really successful. The big one is finding out your true core stories. Now, you might be a healer, you might have been doing this for years, but can I tell you something? When I work with people one-to-one and in groups, I help people uncover stories they never knew they had. Like, on such a massive, like real clarity, and oh my God, that's what I've been doing. And then it's like literally you can see your whole life spanning out with this core belief. That's my power, and that's my gift, is to completely show you yourself on a whole nother level and a way in which to overcome it, to heal it, to work with it, whatever. But it's so important. Like, we are not the product of our history. We're not the product of our trauma. We are the product of what we made that history and trauma mean, and how much are we willing to live in it now? Because we literally relive the decisions about the trauma every day. We've got to get out of the headset of thinking we are living our traumas. We're not. We're living the decisions we made about the trauma. We're living the beliefs, the things, the decisions that we made in those moments. That's what we're living. And that is what we need to overcome if you're going to get your magic out to the world. So people who want to get on with life in general will need to do this if they want to be super duper happy and successful. But when you want to get your healing business, when you want to get your soul purpose out there, there is a level of understanding of your trauma responses that you really, really need to get a handle on. Yeah. And if that's something it's resonating with you, then please reach out to me, because that's what I do. I help people understand their trauma responses, resolve them so they can actually go on and be successful. And it's such a powerful thing to do. And yes, I do it within courses, I do it within one-to-ones, because it's my purpose is to get people to understand the stories, things that are playing out. And when we hit our upper limits, things that then kick in to keep us safe, to keep us down a heel. And that's what I do. So if this means anything to you, then please reach out to me, because more than ever, our magic needs to be out in the world. The world needs more magic right now. And if you have got that to offer, but you can't seem to get off the friggin' starting blocks, you can't seem to create enough, it's not about strategy. The first thing to do is not strategize, is not to have a plan, is not to employ somebody to give you a strategy, because all the strategy in the world will do shit if you are not in the game, if you don't believe it, if you have a fundamental core belief and story that you are running that will not let any strategy happen. So it could be the best strategy in the world, it won't work if at the actual root of it you are still in trauma response. So trauma response is the first thing to sort well before strategy. Anyway, I really hope that resonated with you. I really felt I had to talk about that tonight, just because of what's happened to me as well. I got really reminded of where our brain goes when it comes to blaming, shaming, reactions to traumas, reactions to circumstance. And we go to dark places without even realizing it. And when you're a healer, you'll know your dark places, but it's unfuggling it all. So anyway, I'm sharing that with you. Reach out to me. I am here for you and to help guide and to actually help you understand the actual core beliefs that are stopping you from all the dreams and desires you've got and becoming the person you are desperate to become. You know you are that already though, right? It's just a case of letting her out. Love you lots. Good night.